Hey, welcome back to the Infinite Woman Universe show. I'm your host, Angela, and today we are talking about 3 ways that your unhealed trauma is impacting your business. So if you are starting to come into the realization that there are things going on in your business that are a little bit deeper than systems and consistency and things like that, this video is for you. Hi, I'm Angela Turpin, trauma healer and self-sabotage slayer. I help soul-aligned service providers and trauma coaches slay self-sabotage so that they can embody freedom, live on their terms, and do business their way. We're going to dive right into this content because if you have followed me for any point in time, you know that I talk about how important it is to heal your trauma, how important it is to unlearn your unhealthy childhood conditioning. It's almost in every video that I talk about. I probably will not stop talking about it. It's the way that you heal self-sabotage or slay it or let it go. So what I want you to be aware of is how your unhealed trauma might be showing up or how it's actually impacting your business. This is going to be huge because a lot of us want to believe that the stuff from our childhood is not impacting us now. And trust me, I used to believe that. When I had first had the flashback of what had happened to me when I was a child, I was 27 years old. And I remember being like, I'm fine. That happened like so long ago. It was 24 years ago. There's no way it's impacting my life. It was. And I got a really good lesson on how it was impacting my life 2 years later. So just know that if you believe that this isn't, your past isn't impacting your present, know that you're not alone and understand that that's like a typical notion until we really start to dig deep at these things, and that's okay. We all start somewhere. So the first way that your business is impacted by unhealed trauma is through your coping mechanisms. Now, coping mechanisms are like watching social media or scrolling through social media, drinking too much, smoking too much, doing drugs and partying, or it could be being addicted to trauma, or I did say trauma, or drama, or people and places and things that have hurt you in the past, or running back to things that you know are completely unhealthy that you use to avoid an escape. And once you avoid or use those things to avoid an escape, maybe you're not doing what it is that you're supposed to be doing or that you know that you are supposed to be doing. And if you really struggle with this, make sure you check out how to move your needle forward in the business. That will really help you start to come forward. But these coping mechanisms, your coping mechanisms, the way that, people talk about this in therapy, well, I have to learn how to cope. We heal around here. We don't cope anymore because you have really been coping your whole life. The reason why you cope is so that you can get your needs met and stay in safety. So the whole idea here is for you to let go of these coping mechanisms so that you can really show up in the way that you desire, because your coping mechanisms are actually keeping you stuck and they're keeping you unhappy. And if you have watched any of my videos for any point in time, you know that I talk about alignment a lot, and alignment is about feeling good. And if you struggle with that, you can check out this video here. But you are meant to feel happy and feel excited about your work. The thing is that if you're not feeling that way, you are going to cope, or you're not going to show up in the way and you want to in your business. This is why avoiding your emotions is actually hurting you. You want to make sure that you are feeling all of your emotions rather than coping, so you don't have to deal with any of the pain or any of the betrayal or anything that has happened in your life. You have to take that stuff head on. And I know that that really sucks, and I know that that's really hard to do, but I help my clients by laying the foundations of healing that trauma and letting go of that unhealthy childhood conditioning so that you will stop self-sabotage, so that you will show up in the business, show up in your business in the way that you truly desire, so you can embody freedom, so that you can live on your terms confidently, love yourself, do all of those things. Okay, but you've got to be able to face them all, and that really starts with your coping mechanisms. Your coping mechanisms will let you know a lot of things about yourself, especially when you're starting to come into this self-awareness and being aware of what it is that you really cope with, because it may not be social media, it may not be drugs or alcohol, it could be people. So just kind of be aware of these things. This is really going to point you in the right direction. The second thing that unhealed trauma impacts your business is by not taking care of yourself. Taking care of yourself when you're an entrepreneur, especially a solo line service provider or a trauma coach, when you are helping people and serving people and kind of taking on their energy and guiding them, it's draining. You cannot do that on a daily basis if you are not taking care of yourself. Self-care is so important. And I know that self-care has kind of come into like this buzzword, but it's not, okay? It is so important. And if you do not have a morning routine or a self-care routine or anything of the sort, this is something that I feel like must be the number one thing that you work on, because self-care is about regulating your nervous system so that you can receive and so that you can guide and help people fill their own cup up. So if you struggle with self-care, I'll leave that video for you there so that you can dive deep into that. But if you are not taking care of yourself, if you are filling up your time to be busy rather than be productive, you are going to burn out, okay? I know that a lot of people think that we're going to solve burnout with time management. Burnout is actually a sign of unhealed trauma. And it's usually because most people that suffer from burnout are actually afraid to say no. So they take on too much. And that's actually a lack of boundaries and people pleasing. And we can dive all into that. But those are signs of unhealed trauma. Those aren't signs of poor time management. Something is always deeper. So just be aware of that, okay? Are you being productive or are you being busy? If you are struggling with being productive versus being busy, do you feel safe slowing down? Okay, if you don't feel safe slowing down, this is also a sign of unhealed trauma. This is why burnout is about unhealed trauma and not about time management. Okay, you want to make sure, are you being productive versus busy? And are you taking care of yourself on a regular basis, like daily, every single day? You want to be doing those things because it does help you come into alignment, number one. But again, it also helps you serve people. So you want to make sure you have that kind of like in order. You want to be sure that you're aware of these things. Not taking care of yourself is the number one sign of unhealed trauma. This is actually for trauma survivors. This is how they gauge whether or not healing from their trauma is actually successful for them, is the way that they take care of themselves on a daily basis. So I want you to be aware. Are you taking care of yourself, or are you filling up your time with productivity or busyness just to say that you're busy? This is going to be huge for you because a lot of you may not even be doing things that are truly pushing the needle forward. Make sure you check out that video. The third way that your unhealed trauma impacts your business is self-sabotage. If you are consistently sabotaging your business, sabotaging your success, sabotaging your consistency, it is a sign that not all of you feel safe being on board with what it is that you're doing, who you're becoming, and this is huge, right? And especially in the self-sabotage industry, I guess you could say, a lot of people want to talk about self-worth, and that is true to an extent, but not every part of you feels unworthy, but your parts of you do not feel safe, right? So it's going to be a combination of everything, which comes from healing your trauma. There's no way around leaving your trauma there. It has to be healed. It has to be healed if you want to let go of self-sabotage. Self-sabotage is a true sign of you not feeling safe. And I know this because I sabotaged a whole business to hide from my ex, because it was the basis of every argument that we eventually had. And so I felt like I had to be punished. And so I went through cycles, okay, and until I figured out what was going on and why I would always do this to myself. Okay, this is why coping mechanisms are important. Okay, not that I don't use my phone to numb and do all of those things. Okay, I'm a human being, but the thing is that my coping mechanisms were something much deeper in these cycles, and you've got to do a lot of healing in order for these type of layers to come up. And I know that that sounds really scary, like, please don't make me do that. But the thing is that when you work with me, it's an accelerated process. We can slay your self-sabotage in 12 weeks, where you go from constantly sabotaging yourself to being completely free of self-sabotaging and knowing how to deal with it and prevent it if it potentially happens again or you feel it coming up again. Total and complete embodiment of freedom. And that's what that 12-week program is all about. So if you're interested, make sure you check that out. Okay, but unhealed trauma in your business is a sign of self-sabotage. So if you feel like you are consistently sabotaging yourself on a regular basis, it comes from unhealed trauma. And if you really want to dive more into that, I'll leave a playlist for you here so that you can check that out. But that helps you dive deep into self-sabotage, slaying self-sabotage. So make sure you check that out. If you want to do the 12-week program, comment below, get a hold of me. But this is what I have for you. This is how your unhealed trauma impacts your business. Make sure that you are taking care of yourself. Make sure you're aware of your coping mechanisms and slay that self-sabotage. If you are watching this video and you made it with me this far, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Make sure you like and subscribe and do all the things so that we can build up this beautiful community. If you are interested in becoming a member of the Sisterhood, which is actually completely free, it requires an investment, or if you're part of the challenge that will be coming up soon, that's how you can actually get in for free. But if you're ready to get in now, make sure you check out either Self-Sabotage Slayer or Burn the Rules to the Ground course so that you can get in. And I will see you next week.